So please welcome Dan Wickens back to UW-Tacoma.
All right, thank you. Am I on? No, I think the on button. The on button. Am I back? Is that too loud? Am I better here? There? All right. Cool. Well, thank you all for being here today. I'm stoked to be back on campus, and we'll just keep it right there. I like to start with thank yous because I find that I spend a lot less money on stuff I don't need when I recognize all of the great things I already do have, like this opportunity for me to get fulfillment. I'm very grateful for my family for being supportive of this. Got a young family, show them on this slide. But thank you so much to all of you for being here and to the Milgard School of Business for all of the support that they give me and all these opportunities that they give me to do things that I really, really love. And I hope it helps you out as well. So, my family is my life. I got that little 2-year-old in the middle there sitting in the cat tree. That's a good encapsulation of kind of where he is right now. So just picture that when I talk about him throughout the presentation, and then have a little girl showing up in January. So very excited about that as well. So it's a very interesting, exciting time. I am the author of Healthy Dough Ingredients for the Financial Health You Crave. In the book, you will pick up the knowledge, skills, and strategy that you need to make your finances a healthy and positive part of life. Hopefully, that also means wealth with that as well, but it doesn't have to. They can be healthy and positive, however you want to draw that up for yourself. So, we have more series or more sessions coming up in this series. I'm very excited about the next two as well. Today, we're going to be talking about really the motivation side and taking those first steps to financial wellness. Next week, we're going to talk about some spending and debt strategies that I'm very excited about with some stuff straight out of the book. And then the following week, we're going to take that full financial plan of earn, save, grow your money, and setting sustainable, healthy financial goals. All right, quick disclaimer. I'm here as a volunteer. I'm here as a buddy. I'm not giving you professional investment advice or anything like that. All right, so who is ready for the broccoli test? We're going to find out how eating broccoli relates to financial health. So I'm going to tell you 3 facts about broccoli and listen really carefully. So first of all, a lot of the fitness influencers you see on the internet probably eat a lot of broccoli. Doctors recommend it because of the benefits for digestion and for the vitamins and minerals and things like that. So now that you know those facts about broccoli, raise your hand if you're a fitness influencer. Anyone? That didn't fix it? I told you that broccoli is awesome. But no, of course that didn't work, because just knowing what you're supposed to do or what other people are doing doesn't cut it. That's why we're going to focus a ton on motivation today, why we're going to focus on connecting it to a healthy purpose. Because if broccoli wasn't healthy, no one would do that. That would be a pretty tough life. So when we look at something like a simplified wealth plan, yeah, you can get there by earning money by working, living on less than you make, and saving and investing in a way that materially beats inflation. But how are you going to do that? How are you going to stick to that and stay motivated and do it in a healthy way? And actually, let me go right back here for a second. This is kind of what we'll cover in that third session, is a healthy approach to the earning, saving, investing, all of that. So you really got to start with your ABCs, your attitudes, behaviors, and choices. In the second session, we're going to go into what I call the hierarchy of control, where we really lay out what the best attitudes, behaviors, and choices are, and where you actually have control, because you want to focus your financial plan on where you have the most control. For example, speculating about interest rates, probably not the most important part of your financial plan. You don't control that, but you do control your non-essential spending. You control your attitude about money. That's where attitudes, behaviors, and choices come in. So I tell my 2-year-old all the time, and picture that little guy in the cat tree barking at me about something that he thinks he needs right away. I tell him, dude, your life is going to be so easy if you just learn to be patient. And I think that's going to stick. And that's very true. All of these things, if you live patiently, gratefully, and you stay accountable, you will have the tools that you need for consistent, sustainable financial success. All right, so we're going to do a little participation. We're going to do YMCA style if you can, maybe an A, a B, and a C for what you're going to answer. So we're going to pick the job that you think you want. So scenario A, you're going to make the most. Oh, and this is a salary job. So you're not getting extra dollars for extra hours you put in. You make the same no matter what. So in that scenario A, you're making the most, 6 figures. That's pretty sweet. But you're also working 60 hours. That's probably 12-hour days, 5 days a week, or 10-hour days, 6 days a week. So in scenario C, you work just a straight 40. You're paid for every hour that you're working, but you also make a lot less. Scenario B is a little bit more in the middle. We got more like 9-hour days, but you are making more. So YMCA style, who's got A? Who's picking A? Nobody? How about he picks A? B? B's pretty good, or C? Yeah, and I'd be so interested. I know we don't have time to go through with everybody, but I would be genuinely interested to hear why people picked the different scenarios. And if we do have time, maybe someone volunteers that at the end. But the reality is, we probably need more information, and everybody's individual life circumstances are going to play into this. You might have job A, let's say you're like the executive director of a nonprofit or something like that. And you wake up every day stoked for the purpose. It's the best 60 hours of your week because it adds so much meaning to your life and you make the most. Or those 60 hours could be the worst part of your week, and it's not really worth that extra money if you could live on a different thing. Scenario C, and as someone with a young family, I find myself more in that range more often of like, all right, how can I maximize my time outside of work? There's no wrong answer. I've kind of done all three of these in a way, but next question. This one is even harder. We can try YMCA style again, even though I have no idea how to do D. Maybe it's a lowercase d. But so, would you rather have a healthy mind, healthy body, healthy relationships, or healthy finances? Can't have them all. Pick one. Who's doing A? B? C? I see we lost the YMCA letters, but I appreciate the participation. It's pretty great that we're getting so much participation. Well, what I have found in my own life is that you actually, if you make the right choices, you can really impact all four of these things in a positive way through good decision making and focusing on a healthy purpose and a healthy life. The wellness and the health of your mind, body, relationships, and finances all depend on your choices. That's one of the big takeaways today. We'll talk a little bit toward the end about hurdles with decision making and things like that, but for now, your choices are really what's going to drive your success with your mind, body, relationships, and finances. Your choices should always be in a way that support your financial health. So, more money should be a good thing. It should always be a good thing. But if you're seeking it in an unhealthy way, if you think that it's going to add value to you as a person, it doesn't. It should always be a good thing. But some people, whether it's because they don't have enough, and that is a real problem, it, it's a much bigger problem than I think any of us wish it was, or they think they don't have enough, or they have enough but they always need more. Think about really, really toxic billionaires or something like that, where nothing is ever enough and they think that money gives them different rights, like different rights than everybody else in the world. That's not a healthy thing, but more money should be a good thing, a healthy and positive part of your life. So you got to make sure that you're earning it, saving it. If you spend something, it should add value to your life. But financial health is a state of being where your finances are a consistently positive and healthy part of life. We're going to keep coming back to that consistently positive and healthy part of life. And that's where the four circles of health come in. When you want to make choices that are a consistently positive and healthy part of your life, I look to the four circles of health. That's a concept that I created when I was writing the book. It came up in a very, very difficult personal time where I started to make these connections. It was really when I started mental health counseling that I started realizing how many of these different things are connected. And let's just take the health of your body, for example. If you're taking good care of your body, there are some things you can't control, but generally your healthcare costs will be lower. A lot of your other costs will be lower. It's less stressful. Having gone through some serious health stuff in recent years, this time for the first time, nothing that had anything to do with a decision I made, it just kind of happened. It is stressful when your body isn't working the way that it needs to. And then how could stress impact your relationships? Social. So physical is the health of your body, mental health of your mind, social is the health of your relationships, and then obviously financial, we get that. The biggest piece in social, I think, is self-esteem, your relationship with yourself. We're going to talk a decent amount about self-esteem today because I think that that's really at the center of making consistent, healthy, positive choices. So again, going back to that example with, let's start with physical. Physical health has a huge impact on your financial health. And on the other hand, if you have, if your job doesn't have quality benefits, you might not even have access to care. There's all sorts of ways each affects and is affected by the other circles. And we want to make decisions that put us right in the middle in that dark green spot. And so what do? We tend to do things like set New Year's resolutions. Has anyone ever set a New Year's resolution? Has anyone ever failed? Yeah, me too. They're really hard to stick to, but what do we set them for? We want to save more money, or we want to improve our diet, or lose weight, or call our mom more, or lower stress. That's a huge one. Stress is one of the biggest issues for the four circles of health. And we want to do all of those things, but we typically give them up by March when we set them as a New Year's resolution rather than lifestyle change. We're going to talk a little bit at the end of this session and then a lot more in the third session about what I call BAT goals, benefit, action, timing. It's an activities-based system where you're really celebrating the stuff that you can do daily or weekly rather than just looking at the destination and being like, okay, I'm not there yet. This sucks. But like, oh man, I made progress today. That's kind of the spirit of BAT goals. We'll come back to that. So looking up at the four circles of health, we have some examples. Walking with a loved one, my favorite thing in the entire world. And it's four green circles pretty much every single time, unless you end up having a fight or something when you're on your walk. But it's good for the body and the brain. It's my biggest way to lower stress and my favorite quality time with my loved ones, especially with my family. Just we had a moment the other day. Our kid was out riding his little Strider bike, and we're just on a walk together, and we're thinking, oh man, this is what we pictured. All the hard stuff that goes on outside of that, like this, just walk as a family is incredible. And guess what? If you have shoes, pants, and a jacket, it's basically free. So you just got to find a safe place to do it and get out and do it. And it hits all four of those circles. We're going to talk more about low cost hobbies later because that's huge. So a healthy, fulfilling career, I left the top circle blank because I don't know if it can be physically healthy or not. I find that my desk job seems to beat me up pretty bad, which is pretty funny. So get the ergonomic equipment, do what you need to do with that. But let's leave physical out of it for now. Your career is always going to be built around people, whether it's your customers, your coworkers, your supervisors. Unless you are a widowed, self-sustaining farmer, you will have people that are part of your livelihood. And so that social aspect is, I think, where work starts. A tough work relationship can be really, really draining. I've definitely had some of those, the kind that keep you up at night. So that's tough on your mental health. But a healthy career, you get good mental stimulation. You're using your brain, you're using your socialization, and you're making some money in the process. But if you have disproportionate career stress, oof, I've done my share of that. There is a lot of strain on the mind and the body, and that will always, always, always impact your relationships. And that's tough. So even if you're making money, I think we can only call that a yellow circle in the financial area because is it really a healthy and positive part of your life if it's kind of wrecking your mind and your body? That's why finding that important the right fit, the right fulfillment, figuring out what do I want out of my career and really striving for that as long as you can make basic ends meet. So when the four circles suffer, there are a lot of problems. And when I look at these words, and I just picked the ones that I thought were most important, you could pick a bunch of different words. I think each of these things, again, affect and are affected by the circles of health. So something like stress. Yeah. Stress is really hard. Let's pick financial stress as an example. Let's say you're not able to make ends meet for one reason or another, either because you're not earning enough or because you're spending too much. Whatever it is, that will absolutely affect your mind, body, and relationships. And then things like divorce. That's a pretty brutal one. One of the leading causes of divorce is financial issues. One of the leading causes of financial issues is divorce. That sucks. So all of these things, and I've dealt with them, which we'll get to in a second. All of them are very, very challenging as part of a healthy and positive life. We don't want that. We want green circles. And so that's where I take the time as a millennial to start talking about myself. You've been waiting for it. You could tell I was a millennial and it's coming. But basically, my four circles journey starts with when I started mental health counseling. It was 5, 6 years ago, something like that. Best thing I've ever done. If you've ever thought about it, figure out a way to get in and do it. But I have always had a fantastic life filled with love and joy and opportunity. But that's not the same thing as a life without adversity. I get plenty of that too. So, what I decided is that money was going to fix everything, money and career. And early in my career, got good jobs, made good money, but it didn't fix everything. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. So, my reality was anxiety, depression, low self esteem. We're going to sprinkle in a little ADHD in there as well, just to keep things spicy. But my plan to fix it was not to find healthy coping mechanisms. It wasn't to address any of the problems. It was, I'm going to get rich because that's going to add value to myself. It does not. And in the process, because I didn't have healthy coping strategies, I didn't have healthy stress management and was putting so much pressure on career and money to be everything for me, it didn't work out. And it really hurt my mind and my body. I put these pictures up here just as proof. The one on the right, I think I would have been a junior at school here. Between that and the one on the left where I was 26, I lost 50 pounds. I gained 50 pounds my first couple years of college, decided that I didn't like how I looked. I didn't care about how I felt. I wanted to look different. So guess what? I gained it back because that doesn't matter. What you look like doesn't matter. What you feel like mattered. And this guy felt like crap all the time. Had a good life, lots of fun, all that kind of stuff. But my body and my mind were not functioning the way I wanted to because I didn't have healthy stress management strategies. Career, 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 money, 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 binge drink, binge eat, yo-yo diet, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not trying to shame, myself for my appearance in these. I just wish that guy felt better about himself. And so even though the financial health was kind of there because the money was accumulating and things like that, it wasn't really working. So that's where we come to self-confidence versus self-esteem. We're going to do an experiment real quick. I'm going to say, I'm confident speaking in front of a room full of people. I always have been. I enjoy it. I even won an award here while I was at Milgard School of Business for public speaking. I believe in my ability to do that task. Now we have another participation. This is going to be a fun one. I want you to boo like I just said something really offensive or blew a call in a football game. Boo. Go. All right. I'm still okay because because the presentation isn't where my value comes from. My value comes from knowing that I matter, I have value, I'm a good person. I want this to go well. I want to connect with you guys. But if you have constructive feedback or if you boo, let's hear it again.
Boo.
Oh, yeah, there we go. It's fine. It's fine because nothing you ever do is going to actually increase your value as a person. You just are good enough. But you can do things to increase your life experience, like having good financial health. It is awesome being able to buy what you want, travel when you want, do things like that. But money will never increase your value as a person. So once I started that health seeking rather than wealth seeking, everything got a lot better. And I hope you do the same from the get go as part of your career, because you can see the only one that has really been about the same is wealth accumulation. I'm not wealthy, I'm not a millionaire yet. I'm ahead, but I still got work to do. And in both mindsets of like career and money are everything, yeah, I was able to get ahead. But in my current life, where it's more about my overall health as a person, the career is going better. I get better evaluations, I have better career satisfaction. I feel a lot better physically, mentally. I have more time. Do you know how hard it would have been to write my book if I was hungover every Saturday and Sunday like I used to be? That wouldn't have really worked. So I get to do things that are fulfilling, and the self-esteem and relationships are all better too. So I want you to learn to treat yourself like a dog or a cat. Ooh, let's see the cat man fly in again. I like that. So think about a dog, and you can also think about whether it's a kid or a friend or a partner or just someone that you care about more than anything. And I want you to think about the life that you want for that person, but then we're going to stick to dog. So what do you want for your dog? You want your dog to be able to get out and go for walks and exercise and have a healthy diet. You want them to feel good. You want them to get to play. They get treats occasionally, not always, but occasionally. And they need that healthy socialization. They know that they're loved. They have enough accountability and discipline that they don't bite people at the park. Because if you bite people at the park, you don't get to go to the park. And so think about that, all those things that you would want for your dog or for your kid, your family, whoever. You got to want that same stuff for yourself. When we love someone, we help them make decisions, or we hope that they make decisions that give them a positive and healthy life. So when we look at acts of healthy self-love like this is where we kind of start circling back to money again. Saving money is a healthy, positive decision. But what do we see a lot of times, especially on the internet? Like, I buy whatever I want because I love myself. I'm going to eat cake constantly because I love myself. I'm not going to the gym. I don't hate myself, man. But that's so backward. We want to make quality decisions for ourselves as part of that self love and that self esteem because we know this takeaway. We're going to talk about the more specific financial stuff in just a minute. But if you have one takeaway today, I will make choices that support my 4 circles of health because I matter and I'm worth the investment. That is what's going to keep you motivated when you're having a crappy day at work, when you're like, oh man, I really want to go to Greece on this random Tuesday morning. And you're like, okay, but can I afford it? Or whatever. Make choices that support your 4 circles of health because you matter and you're worth the investment. So now is when we get into the financial wellness starter packet. And I'm so excited about this. I got the idea from my intern this summer, super cool kid. And she, through the intern program, she had said, yeah, we got a financial course, but I kind of didn't know what to do afterward. And so hopefully this can give everybody an idea of actionable steps that they can actually take, maybe even as soon as you walk out of the room. You don't have to do them all at once. Some of them you can probably like space out or wait until you're starting your career, but we'll go through each as we go along. But here's where we get to, I said I was going to come back to the hurdles because I said your attitudes, behaviors, and choices are what drive your results. But not everybody is in the same circumstances. That is worth acknowledging. So picture the road to financial health and just wellness in general as a giant racetrack, a giant track, and everybody has their own lane, and everybody has hurdles in their lane. Some people's hurdles are teeny tiny, and they're really spaced out, and they might even get a head start. All right, well, if they don't learn how to jump over their hurdles, they got to run and jump over their hurdles, even though it's easier, or else they're going to, trip and hit themselves in the face. Other people have hurdles that seem gigantic and are one after another. And the same rules apply. I think that things like the starter packet, no matter what your hurdles are, these things are all doable. But we do need to acknowledge people have different hurdles, things like systemic bias, bigotry, generational poverty, mental health challenges, dysfunctional relationships, addiction. There are all sorts of hurdles that people deal with. But if you didn't think you could get over them, you wouldn't be here today. I can promise you that. So you know you can do it. I know you can do it. These steps that we're going to talk about are relevant for everybody and hopefully pretty easy to just get on the board and get started. So let's take credit. Can I get a round of applause for start learning about financial wellness? Because you're doing it right now. Seriously, that's one of the most important things that you can possibly do is just to get started. It's showing up to this class, it's going to that first counseling appointment, it's going to the gym, it's telling someone how you feel about them. Whatever that first step is, today at a minimum, even if you haven't done anything up to this point, that's your starting place. Now I want to think about career. So I don't believe in the 5-year career plan anymore. I think that is just gone because technology is going to change and that's going to change your job, your role, your industry. Personnel is going to change. You might acquire another company, you might be acquired. There's all sorts of stuff that make that 5-year career plan really, really hard. So let's start with a 1-year career plan and think about all the different things that you might be able to do in your current role. And again, you might have to wait until you start working to be able to do this, but what can you do in your current role to meet some of those goals as part of a 1-year career plan? As you get to 5 plus, it's going to get a lot more conceptual. Think about where you want to be. Don't limit it at 5. It could be 15 for all I care. But think about where you want to end up and then how you can start doing some of the steps that you might need to, what it might cost you to get to that point. And then the 3-year is kind of a hybrid, maybe a bridge to that 5-year. But so 1 year, very specific to your current role or like an active certification that you're working on. 5 plus, more conceptual, what do you want it to look like? And then 3 is kind of a hybrid. So in this step, we get to kick down a barrier, which is awesome. Just get ready to squash it out. You're going to break down the barrier. You're going to get a savings account, a high yield money market or a high yield savings account. I prefer to go to a credit union. I happen to use a credit union that sponsors the CFW, which is kind of nice. I don't know if I'm allowed to plug that, but but I am. And so look at whatever the minimum balance is. As soon as you get enough to meet that minimum balance, start a savings account. And then you get to put on your dating profile, I have a savings account. No one has to know that it's 350. Like it doesn't matter. You kicked down the barrier and now you have a savings account. That is part of a healthy thing. When I was in college, our interest rates were exceptionally low, and so I swear I got like -5.5% in my savings, but it was actually like 0.11. Now you can get like 4.5% or something like that. Pretty sweet. All right, budgeting. This is one that we're going to talk more about in the third session, but the basics of a budget are a way to plan, monitor, and be accountable for your spending. It's that second step of that 1, 2, 3 path to wealth that I put earlier, where you're really going to live on less than you make. And that comes with a budget. I do not care what budget system you use, just do it. So as an example, my wife and I got together when we were both 29. We were each homeowners and had been, the financial person for ourselves for our entire adult life. She budgets with pencil and paper. That doesn't really work for me. I budget with this obnoxious Excel spreadsheet that's in the packet you're going to receive. That doesn't really work for her. And so we collaborate, we coordinate, but she's more effective on paper. I'm more effective in Excel. Doesn't really matter. We still meet our goals because your budget template doesn't matter. So if you have an app that you like using, or if you want to use the stock Excel template, which I also put in the Excel file that you'll receive, just something that allows you to plan, monitor, and be accountable for your spending, something that works for your brain and your lifestyle. All right. Next one, we get to kick down another barrier. Can you like kick underneath your tables? Will anyone actually do that? This is awesome. We're going to kick down another barrier by enrolling in a tax advantaged retirement account. So, quick overview. When I say tax advantaged, I mean tax advantaged. But what I'm actually talking about is things like an employer sponsored plan, like a 401k that you would get through work, or an individual plan, like an IRA, individual retirement account, that you can go out and get on your own. So you want to enroll with at least the minimum contribution in that. An IRA might have like a fixed floor of like, if you put in $10 or something, you can open an IRA. For 401k, they may have like you have to contribute at least 1% or $10 per paycheck or something like that. If it's all you can do, get on the board with minimum contribution, because guess what you get to say when you do that? I have a Roth IRA. Add it to your dating profile. Say, I earned 12% in my Roth IRA last year. They don't have to know that's $1.20. Seriously. You broke the barrier. You're doing great. So since I said Roth, I don't think I covered this yet. There are pre-tax and Roth. So pre-tax is you get tax benefits now, you don't pay your taxes now, and then when you withdraw the funds later in retirement, you're going to pay taxes on the contributions and earnings. So it frees up more cash now. And if you're in a stage where you're in one of the higher tax brackets in our progressive tax structure, where the more you make, the higher your tax rate is, sometimes that makes the most sense. And then Roth, especially when you're younger, you're just starting and or your salary is lower, it's really nice because you get to pay at your current tax rate and then never again. And so I really think like a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k, super, super powerful way to start. And I put a little eye candy in here of imagine starting, let's say you get your first job in fast food at age 16 and you retire it from whatever career you end up in at age 66. This number right here is how many times more that dollar is worth by the time you retire. So as you go with a higher return rate, which you don't have as much control over, you can influence your return by making good investment choices. What you do have more control over is the time that it's in the market. Time in the market is really, really what's going to do the most for you and where you have the most control. All right, I'm going to use an accounting term. I'm sorry, I am a CPA. It's obnoxious that I'm asking you to make a balance sheet, even though you might not know what a balance sheet is, but it's just a listing of your assets and your liabilities. So your assets are something of use or value, but in my definition for personal finance, it is anything with cash value or that gives you cash flow, like money in. Some people put like projected future earnings on their personal balance sheet. I'm not into that. I don't think that that is a reliable estimate, so we wouldn't do that. Just anything that you could actually sell or is already cash, your savings, your investments, your car, your house, whatever. And I guess another thing and difference between my definitions, a lot of people won't say that a car is an asset. They'll say a car is an expense because it's not generating money. I think a car is an asset. It's just not a good one because you can sell it for cash and pay off some of that auto loan if you do have it. Yeah, depreciating asset. Thank you. So the liabilities, that's going to be basically your loans, your debt, your student loans. Chances are anybody who's in school is going to have some form of student loan. And to get to your net worth, not your worth as a person, your net financial worth, you're going to subtract your liabilities from your assets. When you're starting off, that number is going to be big and red and really scary. But then as you accumulate more investments and savings and you lower, oh, sorry, got real close to the mic on that as I was trying to lower. As you lower your liabilities by paying off your loans, that number is going to grow. I don't think that that year 10 example is that ridiculous if you pay off your loans, buy a home at some point and it's not underwater. So create that personal balance sheet so that you can really track. Another component here is the debt lead sheet. So this is where you're going to make a table and list out all of your different loans. What doesn't belong on here is credit card debt. This is all installment loans, which means it has like a set monthly payment. And I don't want you to put credit cards on here. I want you to pay credit cards off first. I don't care if it's 0% interest. They can offer that because they know they're going to get you later. Don't get tricked by, oh yeah, just have a taste. Just give it a try, the high life. No. So this is going to be for your installment loans. And if you do have revolving debt like a credit card, get rid of that even before you invest or start a savings account. And we'll come back to that. I'm not against credit cards. I love them, but carrying a balance, I'm not into. So you're going to list out all of your loans and your payments, and then you can make some decisions based on that. You may decide, I'm just going to pay things off as they're due, or you might look at it and say, boy, that's a lot more debt than I really want to have, and I want the flexibility and start doing more aggressive payments. I've always wanted to do that, but I've been fortunate to not have super high interest on like mortgage or student loans or anything like that. Different interest environments might make more sense to pay down aggressively if the percentages of interest are pretty high. There's a couple ways that are nice to do that. One is called the snowball method, and that is it really it's almost like um it's kind of like activities-based goals where you want to see progress. You want to see something fall off and actually feel like you're making progress. So you pay off your smallest loan aggressively as soon as you can, and then you take that money and pay off your next smallest loan, and you just keep having these smaller ones fall off. A lot of people have more success with that, even though it's not as mathematically beneficial, because they can actually see progress and stay motivated and stick to it. And I think that was popularized by Dave Ramsey. And the other version is you just pay off the highest interest one first because that's where you're going to get the most financial savings. It might not be as satisfying, but if you think you can stick to that, that's where the most benefit comes from. Step 8, we're going to go real fast through this because I think insurance is exceptionally boring. My brother sells insurance. He's really good at it. Love my brother. He was going to be here today, but he couldn't because he's busy selling insurance. And so, my rule for insurance is insure things you can't afford to replace. You probably can't pay cash for your home or your car or your body to be replaced. So in the Excel packet, you'll see it'll have a lot more details, but just as a snapshot for the slides, there are some things that I think are really important to have, especially with things that you can't afford to replace. So insure things you can't afford to replace, and then we can move on. I got to tell you, when I was writing the book, I'm like, oh, I know I have to talk about insurance, but I'm going to have to research and figure out how to really communicate it. Anyway, that's my least favorite topic of financial wellness. I put steps 9, 10, and 11 together because they all kind of go together. Your credit report is basically a listing of your history. And there, I put some instructions in there on where you can actually go and pull that. One of the ways that people monitor credit reports is to make sure no one is like opening debt in your name that you weren't expecting. So that's a great tool with credit report and just seeing where you stack up. Your credit score is what credit rating agencies take to basically give you a number that then they can give to lenders to tell them how likely you are to pay back. So it could be all sorts of things, or it could be kind of all over the place. I personally get my credit score through like 4 different financial institutions. They just oftentimes provide it now. And my scores are different across the different platforms that they use. They're all in the same general area. Excellent. Thank you. But but your credit score is going to tell the story of how likely you are to pay back, and that affects your opportunities. It affects your interest rates. You might not get approved for kind of a favorable loan without a quality credit score or a rewards credit card for that matter, and interest rates are higher. So there is a financial cost. The reason it works like that is even though that makes it harder for people to pay back, the less likely you are to pay back, the more they'll have to charge for the event that someone with a similar profile doesn't pay back. When you're thinking about what matters to your credit score, I like to play a game I call lender pretender, where I'm pretending that I am going to lend money to a friend, maybe. A friend is like, "Hey man, can I borrow $100? What would I want to know? Well, do they pay people back on time? Do they pay people back at all? What else do they borrow money for? What are they going to use it for? Is it for, you know, chips and beer, or is it for like they need to fix their car? That might influence my decision as well. So put yourself in the shoes of the lender. What do you think that they would want to know? That probably impacts your credit score, your history with that. And then obtaining a rewards credit card, we put everything on our rewards cards. It is awesome. We probably save thousands a year. I don't know the exact number, but like even daycare, which is spectacularly expensive. We were so stoked when we saw that we could use our credit card instead of writing a check. So we're like, all right, man, at least 2% back coming on this one, tax free, pretty good savings. So if you get a good enough credit score, you can qualify for a rewards card and go out to any of the major personal finance sites, and they'll probably have a list of like good rewards cards and minimum credit scores. But you want to pay that off every single time. Pay it off, treat it like a debit card, like it's only money that you actually have, and then pay it off. It will help build up your credit and you'll get some cash back in a fun way. Now we get to some of the more non-technical stuff, but it's about healthy spending. And this is such a big deal. I think that it really makes a difference with your overall financial plan to have different ways to find fulfillment and spend less on creating a quality life. But we're going to start with the BAT goals. So benefit, action, and timing. I want you to set BAT goals for all four circles of your health: physical, mental, financial, social, and I want you to set one for fulfillment if you feel up to it as well. So sometimes it might be one goal that ticks all the boxes. So walking at least 30 days or 30 minutes a day to improve your physical, mental, social, and financial health because it's a free hobby. And then for financial, it might be budget review. It might be, I knew someone might ask me what my current BAT goals are. And so I refreshed them this week. I'll have to grab my phone. I'm sorry. I just rewrote them. But the one I wrote this week was abstain from buying gym equipment until spring of 2026. And so I have a home gym. I love it. I I love building it out. And unfortunately, that's not cheap. And so my goal is every time I don't buy gym equipment, woohoo, I did it. And so it can even be something as silly as that. And then this last one comes back to the financially friendly hobbies. So on a random Tuesday morning where I'm looking for fulfillment and I'm looking for that big benefit, I can't just go to New Zealand or go to the Super Bowl or do something that's like a really big thing that's going to make my life feel special. What I can do is little things, especially on a random Tuesday morning. So I like to kind of put this like a slogan like Dan Wickens, move, learn, create. Sounds kind of cool, right? Not maybe not cool, it just sounds like something. And so figure out what your verbs are, what your fulfillment verbs are. So for me, as I'm looking at this, let's say I'm having a hard day and I'm like, ooh, I really want to buy gym equipment. That's going to make me feel better. Instead, I could, sorry to keep harping on this one, I could go for a walk with a loved one for that move bucket. I could get down on the floor and play with my kid. Our current games are Daddy Horse, where he gets on my back and I just crawl around, and Daddy Slide, where I go on my back and put him up by my feet and then let him slide down my legs. It is so fun. That move, that having the kids, the move is super easy. The learn, I could read something, I could watch a documentary, create. Guitar is a big thing for me. So writing a song, just putting on a backing track and jamming and just letting it flow. Those types of things, once you have equipment and everything, it's mostly free. You might need a Netflix subscription to watch a documentary, but it's mostly free. So for me, it's move, learn, and create. But I want you to figure out what yours are. What are those things that you can do daily that add fulfillment to your life? Because when you have fulfillment and when you're feeling grateful, you spend a lot less money. I can promise you that. All right, real quick. I have not been doing a ton on the blog lately. I've been more focused on the UWT stuff, but I think I have a dozen or so posts out there, danwickens.com/blog. It's got a lot of good material in there. Ask Dan anything, hit me up. I will admit I'll probably be a little slow in these next couple months as I continue to work on the series and also welcoming the little girl, little Mabel Lou, in January. And that's it for now. I'm stoked to hear your questions. Thank you so much for being here. And I can't tell you what this opportunity means to me. I hope that I can see you at one or two of the next two sessions. I really think you'll get a lot of additional value. Next week, next week, it's going to be really, really workshopy. It'll be less of me talking and more of us like working through some of these scenarios together. So anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So does anyone have any questions? Do we have time for questions?
2 minutes.
Sweet. I almost stayed on time.
We have till 12:30.
I have one. So, would you happen to know if credit unions have anything better to offer than high yield savings accounts or CD? Because, interest rates, I looked at like maybe 3.5, 3.8%, and it seems like a waste of my time and money to be putting in something that, like you said, is hardly, if at all, beating inflation. So,
Yeah, totally. Great question. I think if you have an emergency savings built up already, and maybe that's one piece I should clarify. And this takes me to another point. This is all brand new content, the starter packet and stuff. So any gaps that you're seeing, anything that you want more clarification on, definitely let me know as I really refine this. But for that, if you have adequate emergency savings already in one of those accounts, then I would say invest more, like get into that tax advantage stuff. But I think the emergency savings, getting at least some interest on that rather than keeping it in checking is kind of what I was referring to. Does that make sense?
sure.
Cool. Thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Are you sure? Okay.
I went to the workshop with the gentleman the last time, and I asked them about collections, and they said that they pay it off, don't even, because I got sued. So I was like, oh, whatever. So I'm paying my stuff off, and I'm wondering, should I pay it off? Like if it's already in collections, because I've just been kind of like my mom's like, ignore it. They said don't. So I'm trying to pay it off. Should I just save enough money and pay it off altogether, or just can I make like smaller payments? Does it matter? Is it better to do one or the other? Because I know I need to get them off of there. My credit score is like a 425. So
Okay. Yeah. I'm guessing that they're charging interest, right?
yeah, I think so.
So then pay off as much as you can as you go because the interest continues to compound the longer it's in there. So if you were to wait longer, then it would continue to build more and more interest. So do what you can when you can and get that knocked out. That'll be good. Yeah, great question. Thank you.
It also shows good faith of
Yeah.
continuing to not ignore it and
Yeah.
pay it. Yeah.
My mom would just wait the 7 years, and I did that, and then got sued, so it restarted. Man. Yeah.
To other people.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, and in the back.
I just wanted to thank you because I feel like this is one of the most like well-rounded, holistic speeches or like workshops or whatever on um, just life. I feel like it's so much good topics, and thank you for covering that. I was wondering why this is not necessarily financial. Why did you choose self-esteem over some other things like self-compassion or other things? Because I have also seen um multiple people pick issue or like have issues with um some kind of the self-esteem movement. I don't know um what you think about any of that.
Yeah, I don't know if I actually, first of all, thank you so much for the feedback. You have no clue what that means to me. Like, I cannot wait to go tell my family that I connected with someone like that. So thank you so much. As far as any my choice around self-esteem, it just is going off of what I know and my experience. I would put self-compassion in there probably, but I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to as in any differentiation between those. But really, I think that when it comes to, like, let's say, just taking the words at face value, self-compassion is definitely a big part of knowing that you should treat yourself like you matter, you have value, you're a good person. Just like if, going back to the dog slide, you know, if your dog accidentally digs up something in the yard, you're gonna hold them accountable, but with love and that kind of thing. So I think that that is all a really important part of what I would consider the self-esteem piece. But again, it's really where it started for me was making all these connections was okay, my trophies and my bank account, and that is not where my value comes from. It's from the content that we went through of like, I matter, I value, I'm a good person, that kind of thing. Does that make sense? Thank you so much.
Last question. Thank you for coming here today. It is 1:23. I really did my